are talking the Hitchcockian thriller Watcher, and this one is directed and co-written by Chloe O'Connor and stars Maika Monroe. So this movie focuses on this young woman who is married to a Romanian guy, and they decide to relocate to Romania for his work. And she can't actually speak Romanian, but they end up living in this kind of apartment block. And in the apartment block, kind of opposite them, our main character kind of notices this guy who's seemingly always kind of looking out the window at her, and she's a little creeped out by it. Add to this, we seem to have a serial killer in the area who is decapitating his victims, and Maika Monroe's character seems to be becoming increasingly more paranoid that she thinks this guy that she sees watching her in the window and maybe kind of around town as well may well be this killer. What'll happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let us discuss Watcher. What do I think? What do I think works in this movie? I have to say this is a well put together film and is a good lesson, I think, in creating tension and paranoia. One of the things I really enjoyed about this movie is, you know, we see it from our main character's point of view, played by Maika Monroe, who I think does an excellent job, I have to say. But, you know, we as kind of that protagonist's eyes, we kind of see what she's seeing, so we understandably think there's something kind of going on. But I think what the movie does very well here is if you kind of look at it from more of an objective point of view, for example, the police or her husband, for example, it's not unreasonable to assume that she's just kind of being kind of paranoid, and these kind of events that, you know, have scared her and have upset her may well just have kind of been coincidence, or she's kind of just being overly kind of paranoid in circumstances of panicking and things like this. So I think the movie does a pretty good job of kind of, you know, making these kind of characters that are doubters understandable. And I think if you look at it from a, you know, an objective point of view, and, you know, you're kind of taking the kind of the dramatic sort of sense of it, you can probably, I think you would probably fall on the side of maybe this woman is being a little kind of paranoid, considering what, you know, what she does to almost provoke this kind of guy. You know, it's very passive, but, you know, she is trying to kind of get a reaction from him to kind of test whether she is, you know, he's being kind of stalked and stuff like that. So I have to say, I think the movie does an excellent job of creating this kind of a realistic kind of setup where you do think, this guy could well just be a little creepy maybe, but he may not be kind of anything more than that. He may just be completely, you know, harmless, but just a little bit kind of weird. But understandably, our main character as well is kind of freaked out and kind of panicking. So I think it straddles a great job of, you know, making it seem like a realistic reason for our main character to be kind of paranoid, but also understandable why you would doubt her. And that's a tough trick, I think. I think that many movies have followed a kind of a similar path to this and not succeeded. And you'd think, oh, it's a typical kind of, you know, doubting husband. And there is that, and we're going to come on to it again. But I think, it, you know, objectively speaking, I think it's handled very well. I do think this movie is also shot extremely well, really kind of emphasising this kind of the loneliness that our character is feeling. And this is kind of emphasised, for example, in a sequence where she's on a train station and she's literally all alone, and we just see, you know, a long shot of the kind of the platform and things like that, and she's all alone, representing how she's kind of feeling, and that kind of sense of isolation and danger when she kind of hears something kind of shuffling in the distance and things like that. I think the cinematography here is very, very well handled. I think the lighting is excellent. And the performances as well, I think, all do a good job here. And, you know, it's obviously a movie, so you kind of pretty much guess where it's going to go. And I think the finale is kind of relatively kind of satisfying as well. So overall, I think the actual kind of the story is, you know, it's a interesting kind of thriller with a kind of a realistic kind of narrative, good performances, and, you know, on a technical side, I think it's made very well. So all in all, a pretty good movie overall. Do I have any critiques with it? I think, to be honest with you, this is, as much as I think it's a very well constructed film, it is very obvious what is going to kind of happen. I don't think it really takes the movie in any kind of real surprises. I mean, this may as well be called Chekhov's Gun, the movie. That's a kind of a, you know, film studies phrase, if you could have heard it before. I don't want to give it away, but yeah, the movie has no real surprises ultimately, and it is kind of goes in exactly the kind of the direction that you think it's going to. Things maybe are overly kind of foreshadowed. You know, characters act like you think they're going to. I've mentioned the husband, and I do think there's a argument to be said. He has some kind of reason that he doesn't believe his wife, but nonetheless, it's still that kind of typical kind of the non-believing kind of husband, and you know, he's driving his wife crazy and things like that, and the police don't find anything. It's a very, very kind of obvious plot, and there is no real surprises. So I think the only kind of real genuine issues I have with this movie is the writing just a little basic. It doesn't offer any surprises. I think it's a little bit obvious sometimes with its kind of foreshadowing, and you know, characters meet certain fates that you think they're going to. So yeah, it's a well constructed movie, and you know, all around it's well made in regards to its visual prowess and kind of acting ability, and even the story is fine. It's just not anything special in regards to the story elements. The narrative is just kind of like somewhat kind of by the numbers, albeit everything around it I think is to a good standard. So I would say this is definitely an above average film, even I would say a good film. It's just nothing really new. It's just nothing kind of you haven't kind of seen before, that hasn't been done kind of many kind of times before. But I will give this one a 7 out of 10. I do think it's actually worth a watch if you like a slower paced, thriller kind of based serial killer movie. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.